Okay, and I have Platinum members, Dan Bosch from Chico, California, on the webinar with us, and we've got his sales team here, and we're all looking at this webinar, which is all about buyer conversion. So we're going to spend the next hour talking about how we can better convert buyer prospects to signed agreements, okay? So the first thing that we all want to know is that buying a home is a process, not an event. And prior to this webinar, we were discussing, Dan and I, this whole buying process, that sometimes salespeople want to blame the buyer when the buyer doesn't show up and say, hey, just find me a house so I can buy it today. So we all need to understand that it just doesn't work that way. Our marketing systems work because they generate a lot of leads. And that's exactly what we want as real estate professionals, is we want prospects. But we all want to understand that some prospects will show up and they just started today thinking about making a move, and other prospects show up where they're beyond thinking about making a move. They have to have a place to buy right away because of their personal situation. So my attitude is that we want them all. Our database should be fat and full of buyer prospects because we have no idea where this timeline is. Our job is just to follow up, gauge their motivation and timing, and then turn them around using marketing and words into an appointment. And you'll find that if we understand that it is a process and not an event, then we'll get way better at the words that we use over the phone and face-to-face with these buyer prospects and moving them along the timeline that we want them to follow. Okay, so we know we have a way of attracting those prospects who are ready to make a move right now, what we call those ready-to-act guys, and we've got a way of identifying those prospects who will be ready to make a move in the near future. Okay, and the process really involves just the questions that we ask. Okay, but throughout this whole process, we have to make sure that all of the prospects, okay, have top-of-mind awareness of the unique and special ways that we help them. Okay, so in other words, you generate a prospect typically through, say, an unbranded or less branded means, or even a branded means like a sign call. And as soon as we generate that prospect and then go into our database, we have to brand the mess out of them. They've got to know why we are the buyer agent of choice. Okay, so we're going to get into that more into that here in just a minute. So let's first of all focus on what it is we need when we want to be working with buyers. Okay, so this is kind of a guideline of the materials necessary. Okay, materials needed for buyer conversion. Number one is our buyer's agent manual. Okay, so you should have your buyer's agent manual, and if you don't, it's on the coaching website, GregParkerCoaching.com, under Outside Sales Agents Workshop. Okay, the second thing you need is your VIP buyer benefits presentation, which I believe should be on your laptop. That way you can use video and other systems to show value. Okay, and then you need to have your attachments. So let's focus on what the attachments should be real fast. You want to have your folder that has your paperwork in it to sign somebody to a buyer agreement. That's pretty obvious, right? But you also need your stuff to be able to demonstrate the value when getting face-to-face with the buyers. So if it were me and I was going on a buyer appointment, the things I'm going to have handy are going to be printouts of properties that match their general criteria that I took down over the phone. Okay, that's number one, because I want to use those to demonstrate to them what they will be getting via email. Okay, so printouts of properties that match what they're looking for, and I can leave them with them when we end our appointment. Another thing are MLS printouts and statistics of properties that we've sold recently. So I can say, look, here are 10 properties that we sold recently, and you can see the deals that we got for our buyers. Okay, the average sales price to list price ratio in our marketplace is 96.7%, and you can see all of these homes we averaged 93.7%. So we save our buyers on average X number of dollars more over and above that of the other real estate agents in the marketplace. Okay, so you've got to be able to demonstrate that sort of value here at this point. All right, and so those are some, I think, really good recommendations on things you need to take along on your appointments. Another thing are referral cards. Is that on every buyer appointment, when you're finishing up your paperwork with this prospect, You have to ask for referrals, okay? And then reward the prospect with something for giving you the referrals, like $50 off commission coupon or $50 off, toward their closing cost or whatever it is for every referral they give you. And highly recommend that you make sure that becomes part of your culture when communicating with these buyers on those face-to-face appointments. All right, so what do we need to know? First thing we need to know is all the scripts and dialogues from our agent manual. So you're going to want to go to the coaching site if you haven't done that and print that out, that agent manual, and it's got to be like, this is my guidebook. This is kind of my Bible for real estate here. I need to learn what's in here. And much of what you're going to see on your screen here for the next hour is part of that agent manual, okay? Next thing is the buyer profile USP, or the home hunter service offer. Okay, when you're talking to to buyer prospects over the telephone, you've got to be able to clearly, concisely articulate an irresistible offer. You've got to make an irresistible offer to them, and it's all about this buyer profile USP. So if you can't right now stand up and clearly articulate that, there's a problem. So I think we all want to be able to do that. We'll look at that here in just a minute, what that is. Okay, how to make compelling offers in closing, because that's what it's all about, is when you're on the phone with a buyer prospect and we figure out he's a buyer prospect, we've got to be able to close them on a face-to-face appointment, and that's only going to happen by making, like I said, irresistible offers, maybe with unique selling propositions and other things, and we'll discuss that. We need to know all the buyer benefits. In other words, what's in it for the buyer to do business with you over and above anybody else, any other option. Okay? And number 5 is that VIP buyer benefits presentation. You've got it, so we need to know it kind of backwards and forwards. Okay? And then, of course, in the end, how to overcome all of their objections. And their buyer's going to have them. So just like we wouldn't begin marketing and showing a seller's home without a signed listing agreement, I don't think we really shouldn't begin working for a buyer without a signed VIP buyer agreement. Now, that's not to say that you can't work with the buyer. Okay, so let me just ask you guys, why do you want to get a VIP buyer agreement signed?
Well, in listening to the call that was on I think it was last week, you brought up, obviously everybody brought up the points of loyalty and all that stuff. That's great, but obviously the ultimate is you're trying to get paid, and hopefully get paid more by obviously articulating the benefits and having them sign that agreement.
Yeah, I think that's right. That's exactly right. The only reason to get a VIP buyer agreement signed, in my opinion, and I guess that's one that counts, is for payment. But not just payment, more money. So that's it. The only reason to get a VIP buyer agreement signed is to make more money. Otherwise, you don't need it, because you guys sell houses to buyers without getting VIP buyer agreements signed. A buyer calls up, wants to go look at a home and buy it. You run over there, you show it, and you sell it. But again, he's not getting any extra services from you or benefits, and there is the risk of losing them as a customer. Whereas if you have them as a client, you can provide more benefits, charge more money, and you're less likely to lose them. That's it. That's the only reason. Okay, but it's not to say that you don't. That's all you work with. Like, you got no problem if a buyer called you up today and said, "Hey, I'm looking at this house over here at 123 Main Street. I'm interested in buying the thing." You got no problem with running over there and selling it to them. But I've had agents in the past say, "Well, before we do that, meet me at my office, or let me come to your house." And it's like the buyer's ready to buy, but the buyer's agent is being an idiot and wants to sit down for a face-to-face appointment to get a VIP buyer agreement signed, while the buyer is sitting there saying, "I want to buy, I want to buy, I want to buy." When they're ready to buy, if you ever get those calls, and we do sometimes, then you got to sell. You don't want to interrupt that process, in my opinion. Okay? What we're talking about here with this whole VIP buyer system is when buyers call us on an ad or a list of homes or is referred over, anything other than them saying, "I want to buy this home right now." Okay, so that means that's the vast majority of our buyers. We're given the opportunity to convert them to a face-to-face appointment for this, for a VIP buyer relationship. So the reason buyers don't really want to sign a contract with the buyer's agent is, I think, because the agents just don't give them any reason to. They don't demonstrate meaningful benefits. So that means that we have to have a system in place that absolutely, on an ongoing, systematic way, demonstrates all those benefits. So we have to have them in place, and you do. So the first thing, in order to put a system together to demonstrate benefits to prospects, is we want to put ourselves in the buyer's shoes. So let's pretend there's a cash register between us and the buyer, and there is, right? So we want to put ourselves on the other side of the cash register and enter the conversation that's going on in the prospect's mind. Okay? So the question is, what is it that buyers really want in a buyer's agent? You know, what's going to compel them to pay attention to you as a buyer's agent? And it's not the fact that you have access to properties, because remember, they have access to homes as well. Okay? So here's, from surveys and research and discovery, what buyers want in a buyer's agent. The first thing is a full understanding of what they want. Okay? And the way you get that, obviously, is by asking. Up-to-date, thorough knowledge of homes on the market, superior negotiating skills, specialized knowledge on the best possible financing options available, okay, and a service program that makes it quick and easy for them to preview homes that they're interested in. All right, so let's back up to superior negotiating skills. All right, let me ask you guys, what do you think that means?
I feel it means having market knowledge and being able to, write offers and present offers to listing agents that negotiate a better price for your buyer, and whatever that takes.
Yeah. That's a pretty good definition, and that's what most real estate agents say. But in my experience, it actually runs a little bit deeper. I think having superior negotiating skills means one simple thing, and that is to make sure the buyer gets the home they want to buy. And you experience this as a listing agent, Dan. You know that many times buyer's agents get in the way of the sale. They tell their buyer, hey, look, buyer, I know the seller's asking $200 here, but I think we can get it for $180, or I wouldn't pay more than $180. Stupid comments like that. Okay, which means that the buyer who was a few minutes ago or a few seconds ago sold on this home at $200. It was the best home for the money out of all the ones they've seen. The buyer's agent says something, and remember, words mean things, that absolutely turn that buyer around to be, you know what, I'm going to go with this agent. The agent just told me that I can get it for $180. So now when they make their offer for $180, and the seller says, I'm not selling it for less than $190, the deal never happens. So they would have bought it for $200 in 1 second, and on the next second, the buyer's agent totally muck up the whole thing. Okay, so superior negotiating skills are just that. Our job is to make sure the buyer doesn't miss out on the home that they want to buy. Okay, so when deciding whether to agree to work for a certain buyer, we want to ask 4 questions. And the questions are this: financially stable, interested in signing a buyer's agreement, realistic in their purchase expectations, and motivated to buy. Okay, now you can see from the eye, interested in signing a buyer's agreement does not necessarily mean they have signed it. Okay, so buyers who fall into this firm category, those are the buyers that end up in my car. They're car worthy, if you know what I mean. So those are the ones we're going to cart around, follow up with, continuously closing to get them into properties. So our job then is all of these buyer prospects that are trickling in on a monthly basis is to move them into this category of being firm. Okay, so let's figure out a little bit more how all that should work. Now, the goal of all of this is to obtain an appointment so that we can get that VIP buyer agreement signed. Okay, that's going to lead to a house. There are 3 ways to grow your real estate business, and we've talked about this. Number 1 is to acquire more clients, and the reason is those clients lead to more sales. Only from real estate clients, sign listing agreements and sign buyer agreements, can you be assured you're going to end up with more sales. Okay, so one of them, acquire more clients. Secondly, obviously, is charge more per sale, and the third one is get your clients to come back and buy something else from you as often as you can. So only 3 ways. Okay, so get more clients. That means signed agreements. So that's obviously the goal with these buyers. Okay. Now, what do we say to them? You should have the universal callback script. In my opinion, you should have it memorized backwards and forwards. Okay, and you can see the buy side, you can see the seller side. So it's a real simple call that you make to these seller prospects. So these buyer prospects. So whether it's a sign call or an ad call or a referral, it's the same script. And the idea is to make a very good offer to the right prospect. Okay, now, if you run down through the script, and we're not going to role play it too much, but if you look at this script, the first part is when you call the prospect back. And to me, that's probably the biggest challenge most real estate agents have, is just reaching the buyer on the telephone, right? So you call the prospect back. Just remember what they're thinking is just like we're thinking when our telephone rings. Like, who are you and why are you bothering me? Okay, so we have to answer that question right out of the chute when the prospect answers the phone. Like, hey, Mr. Smith, this is Todd Walters with the Realty Team, and the reason I'm calling is I received your request for X. And X is whatever it is they asked for. More information on a particular listing, the price of a particular house, a free list of distress sales and bank foreclosures, whatever it is they asked for, that's what I'm identifying. So, hey, Mr. Smith, this is Todd Walters with the Realty Team, and the reason I'm calling you back is I received your request for the asking price of $1065 Gunner Quarter. Okay, and you give that to them. All right, so you never really want to hold back on information that people really want. All right, so most of the prospects that you're generating are coming from your marketing, like ads on the internet and things like that, right, Dan? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So we can just, looking at that, it's, Mr. Smith, this is Todd Walters, and the reason I'm calling is I received your request for a list of distress sales, and we've sent that information on over there to you. Is that okay? And, of course, the prospect's going to say, yeah, that's fine. Thank you. All the time, wheels are going on his head. Did I order something? Did my wife order something? It doesn't matter about all that. So we don't need to think. All we need to know is say who we are and why we're calling. Okay, and the key and the cool thing here is because we're responding to them and saying, you asked for something and we have sent it to you, that automatically allows the laws of the universe to kick in, like the law of reciprocity. And we have a free pass now to ask questions. The only issue would be is if we catch them at a bad time. So, Mr. Smith, Todd Walters, reason I'm calling is I received your request for a free list of distress sales, bank foreclosures. I've sent that on over there to you. Is that okay? Yes. Hey, are you folks planning on making a move in the next 3 to 6 months? Okay, and that's our time frame that we're looking for. Not tomorrow. Are you looking to make a move tomorrow? Realistically, no. But 3 to 6 months is about the time frame of prospects looking to buy a house. Now, it may happen tomorrow. It may happen a year from now. But this gives us a really good idea of whether we're talking with a now prospect or somebody in the future. And for real estate agents to think that they're going to get a steady stream of prospects that are going to buy within the next 30 days is just unrealistic. We've all bought houses, and we know how long it took us to buy a house. It's just not an immediate thing. So the goal then is to fill up our pipeline with prospects that want to buy now and in the future. And this allows you to separate the now guys from the future guys. So anybody that answers yes to buying in the next 3 to 6 months, we don't have to ask them question number 4, right, that's on this thing, which says, if you were to make a move, when do you think that might be? Because they just answered the next 3 to 6 months. All right, so those questions are asked. Question number 3 and question number 4 on your script here. Those questions are only asked if you don't know the answers to them. For example, if a buyer requests a list of distress sales, bank foreclosures in Chico, California, where you guys live, I think it's probably pretty good that he's planning on staying in the area. So we don't need to ask them question number 3 and 4. We only ask those if they're wishy-washy. So that's it. So it works kind of like this. Hey, are you planning on making a move in the next 3 to 6 months? Yes. Okay. Are you currently renting, or do you own the home that you're in right now? We're renting. Do you have an agent to help you with a move, looking for a home, finding one when you get ready? All right, and that's it. And then that allows you to know what to do next. Tell the guy, see you later, good luck in your search, or make the appropriate offer, which is home hunter service or sell first offer. That's it. So you got to have the home hunter service offer really clearly nailed down. And here's kind of the psychology behind that whole thing. It's priority access to proprietary information. Okay, that's what everybody needs to have. Priority access to proprietary information. If you can deliver on that, then you're going to be able to get these buyers. Priority access means probably the same access that you have as a real estate agent to homes. So it could be like, hey, would you be interested, buyer, in getting pictures and descriptions of all the homes that match your home buying criteria as often as they hit the marketplaces? In other words, you'd be just like the real estate agent. When a home comes up for sale, you will know about it, but only the ones that match your criteria. Same access that realtors have to homes. Would that interest you? Okay, priority access. Proprietary information, only homes that match your home buying criteria, including bank foreclosures, for sale by owners, corporate-owned homes, even properties that aren't for sale with real estate companies, off-market homes, like listings that have expired or been canceled, or bank properties before they hit the market. So that's information that they can't get on their own, or it's difficult to obtain on their own or from somewhere else. So if you want to attract buyers or get them to say yes to what it is you have, it's all about priority access to proprietary information. And that's it. So once we articulate that, does this sound like something that would interest you? Would this be helpful? They'll say yes. And then when they say yes, you close for the face-to-face appointment. So, okay, great. Are you folks available, say, Saturday or Sunday for about an hour? I'll pop by, 20 minutes, take down your exact home buying criteria and get that system set up for you. And the buyer's either going to say, and you guys know what he says, he either says, yeah, that works, or let's do another time, or he has an objection. Okay, so their common objections are, well, why you got me on the phone right now? Why don't I just tell you what I'm looking for? Or can't you just send me the listings? Or let me check with my wife or spouse on the time and I'll call you back, right? Those are the most common objections, would you guys say?
Yeah.
Okay, well, those are the same thing that I would say is like, why do we need to get together? So you've got to make your response really, really good. But let's think about why it's better for the buyer if you get face-to-face. We already know why it's better for us, right? But why is it better for the buyer to get face-to-face to do this? Because let's face it, can't we take down their home buying criteria over the telephone?
Yeah.
And send them listings?
Sure.
Okay. So why do we want to get face-to-face? Now, we know why we want to, but what's in it for the buyer to get face-to-face? What do you think?
Well, I mean, you've got to communicate that you have something to offer them. That you know that. I mean.
But that's for us. That's the benefit for us. We want, we want to do this. We want. What's the benefit for the buyer, though? I mean, think. What's in it for them?
Time.
What's that?
I think it would save them some time to come in and meet with us and get organized before we just start sending them everything on the MLS.
Yeah, you're definitely on the right path with where you're thinking here, and that's the way. That's what you have to clearly articulate when you're met with an objection. Is what's in it for them? What's the benefit for them? And to me, it's as simple as, look, I can definitely take down your general home buying criteria over the telephone, but rather than me take down your general home buying criteria over the phone and send you properties, possibly hundreds of listings that may or may not be exactly what you're looking for. If we get together face to face, we'll be able to specifically take down your home buying criteria because I have a list. There's over 100 individual features that you can search by, right? So you're going to be a lot less likely to miss out on the perfect home, which means that you're going to be able to beat out all the other buyers to the best homes because you're finding about them first, and get the best deal. And you're in control of the search process and not me. Right, that's it. So it's complete buyer control and less likely to miss out on the perfect home. So those are big benefits for the buyer. And, of course, the other one is the time aspect, and you mentioned that. So that's really good. So I think that dealing with objections that way, you'll be able to convert more of that will make perfect sense to them. And you just ask them, does that make sense? And they'll say, yeah, it makes sense. Okay? And then, that's your best offer. So once you make your best offer and you don't get the buyers to follow through with the appointment, you've made your best offer. You either have to come up with a better offer, which means that you can get on the phone with me and say, I'm getting these objections, what can we say to deal with these objections, or the buyer's just not ready. Okay? Now, let's deal real quickly with the prospects that just want to see the home they called on. All right? So if you look back up the script here, and I'm calling a prospect back that says, and I say, hey, Mr. Smith, this is Todd Walters with the Realty team. And the reason I'm calling is I received your request for more information on our property over there at 1065 Gunner Court. And Mr. Smith says, yeah, I want to see that home there at 1065 Gunner Court. Okay, so what do I do at that point? Well, in my opinion, I think you need to give him what he wants, which is a time to see the home. Okay, Mr. Smith, how about 3 p.m. tomorrow afternoon? Does that work for you? And if it doesn't, then schedule another time that does. But get the appointment out of the way. It's not that we're going to run over there and show him the property at that time, but we want to fulfill his request. Okay? So when you want to see that tomorrow, great. 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, done. And then you just run back through your script. Okay? Hey, Mr. Smith, are you folks planning on making a move in the next 3 to 6 months? Are you guys currently renting, or do you own? We're renting. Do you have an agent to help you when the time is right? No. And then you make your offer. Hey, would you be interested in getting pictures and descriptions of all the homes, including this one, that match your exact home buying criteria, sent over to you as often as they become available? We have a special system, computerized system, that searches all the homes out there, including bank foreclosures, company-owned homes, and other distress sales, as well as all the listings by real estate companies every day, even while we sleep. And you will find out about these properties at the same time real estate agents do. So you'll be able to beat out all the other buyers to the best homes. That's a free service, and you're not obligated to buy anything. Does that sound helpful? And if the guy says, yeah, that sounds great, then obviously I'm going to close now for a face-to-face appointment to do that before we go look at the other home, because there may be some others available that he might want to see at the same time. Pretty easy. All right? But if he says, no, I don't think so. I'm only interested in this home. I only want to see this one at 1065 Gunner Court. Okay. Now I'm going to deal with what I consider to be an objection. Okay? And there's 3 ways that you can handle this objection, and we're going to run through them right now. But before I ever do that, I got to make sure I've got all my information here. Okay, so let's make sure I got all your contact info there, Mr. Smith. Got your name, got your email address, blah, blah, blah. Phone, okay, great. Now, we're going to see that property at 3 o'clock tomorrow, but the owner of this home here at 1065 Gunner Court respectfully requests that all the buyers that come over and look at their property be pre-qualified, pre-approved to buy. So is it okay if I ask you to fax me a copy or email me a copy of your loan pre-qualification letter? Well, I don't have one. Okay, well, no sweat. I really want you to see this property, so is it okay if I have a mortgage company give you a call, and they can do that for you right over the telephone without even having to pull your credit report, and you're not obligated to use them? This way, when the homeowner asks me that question, I can be honest with them and tell them. Is that okay? Or whatever it is. Hey, can you give me the name then of your mortgage guy, and I'll call them so you don't have to. Okay, so you want to make it easy for them to do this. Now, the reason that you want to do this is because he's objected to, he turned down your offer on getting access to all the homes. He's only interested in seeing this home. So our job, your job, primarily is to see if this prospect is predisposed to buying this home. Remember, firm formula. Okay, and if you approach it that way with the number one, you're going to be fine. So if he doesn't clear the hoop, then it's over, right? I mean, think about it. If the buyer's like, why do I need to do that? Well, I'm not talking to any mortgage guy. Well, do you think he's really interested in buying this house? No, right? So if he pushes back on it with any but you got to make it easy and not threatening to do this. And I think what's on your screen right now does a good job of that. So he clears that hoop and he says, yeah, that's fine, no problem. I'll talk to you. Yeah, just have your guy call me. Okay, or yeah, here's the name of my mortgage guy. You call him and you can talk to him if you want to, whatever. Okay, so done. He cleared that hoop. Then I just go to hoop number 2, which is, hey, since you haven't seen this property yet there, Mr. Smith, let me share a little bit more about it, give you some of the details on it. Okay, it's a 5 bedrooms, 4.5 bath, 2-story, traditional. 3 of the bedrooms are upstairs. The master bedroom's on the main level, and the remaining bedrooms are in the lower level, the basement, which is finished off. And I'm going to read everything that's on the MLS printout to Mr. Smith. And it's not that I'm trying to, talk him out of seeing the property. I just want him to know what he wants to go see. Because 7 times out of 10, Mr. Smith's going to say, I didn't really want that master bedroom on the main level. I didn't know it was in that school district. That's really much older than the type of home that I was really looking for. Okay? So that's very useful information. So you're saving him time, you're saving the seller time, and obviously you're saving your time. So at any time, though, the prospect says, well, I didn't really want a master bedroom on the main level. You could say, would you be interested in getting pictures and descriptions of all the homes that have the master bedrooms upstairs in Chico? They can be emailed over to you as often as they hit the marketplace, including distress sales and bank foreclosures that have master bedrooms.
Go back again, describe the house, and if they say, yeah, that's exactly what I want, then you're on your way to showing it to them. If they say, well, I didn't want the master bedroom on the main floor, then you make the offer again.
You make the offer again, but tie it specifically to what they want.
Okay. What's my concern is that they've already said, no, I don't want to do that.
Well, remember, he said, I just want to see this home. So in his mind, he heard something, but he was primarily interested in this home first. So he rejected what you said before. Well, now he's no longer interested in this home because he wants something specific. So you offer him that something specific. So in the scenario I used, which was, I didn't know it had a master bedroom on the main level. We don't really want that. We want the master bedroom upstairs. So would you be interested in getting access to all the homes that have master bedrooms upstairs in that same area? Okay. And of course, it's logical, right? That's exactly what he said he wanted. So I just offer that to him, and it's the same offer. It's just a different way. It's more specific to what he said he wanted. So, but if he says, "Yep, that home sounds great. That's definitely what I'm looking for," then you're on to step number 3. Okay, which is, okay, Mr. Smith, let me ask. Assuming that the property meets your needs, were you planning on making an offer on it when we take a look at it tomorrow at 3 o'clock? And the reason I'm asking is I want to make sure that we have enough time in the schedule to put the offer together. Well, I don't know about that, Todd. I mean, we just started looking. I don't know about any offers. Okay? Now, this is very important because if the guy says, well, yeah, man, if it's what we're looking for, we're buying it. Okay, then I'm on my way. Okay? But if he says, nah, I don't know, we're not making any offers. We still got to sell our home, or, we've got our lease that we're in right now, or whatever their thing is, then I get to come back and say, oh, so you may be open to other properties that match your home buying criteria that could even be better than this one, right? And he's going to say, yeah, sure. So if he is, then I get to close for that face-to-face appointment. But the whole idea here is to non-threatening. Just make sure the buyer's predisposed to buying the property that they said they were so interested in taking a look at. Otherwise, we become taxi cab drivers, wasting their time, ours, and our seller. So, but that's how to deal properly with that objection. I'm only interested in seeing that one home.
Now, one question for you. They call in on that house, and you say, you get to the point where you say, would you be interested in getting access to all other listings as they come on the market? And they say, yeah. So, well, why don't you come into my office? We can sit down. We can, go over it, and then we can go take a look at that house. And they say, well, we're just meeting at that house anyway. Why don't we just do it there? Obviously, that's not the best environment to be doing that in. So, what would you counter that with?
Let's back up. I mean, ask me your question again, because it didn't make sense to me.
Well, logical progression, if I'm the buyer and I call in and I say, yeah, I want to see this house, and the person says, hey, would you be interested in access to all listings that match your criteria, including bank foreclosures? Yeah, great. Well, then why don't you come in and we can sit down, and before we go take a look at the property, my logical response is, well, I'm going to be meeting you at the property. Why don't we just do it there? I can tell you what I'm looking for.
Well, I've got two reasons. Number one, at our office is we have our computer system. That's where all the properties are on there. So we'll be able to look at them together, plug in your home buying criteria, get that set up, and it'll probably spit out some properties that you might want to go see as well. That might even be better than that one.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. So that's why, obviously. All right. So, but let's assume that the buyer, that we dealt with that. He said we made our offer. Hey, would you be interested in getting pictures, descriptions of all the homes that match exactly what you're looking for? Not just from all the real estate companies out there, but even banks and for sale by owners. They can be emailed over to you, boom, as soon as they become available, and you'll be able to beat out all the other buyers to the best homes. They have access to the properties just like real estate agents have. That's a free service. You're not obligated to buy. Does that sound helpful? You know what? That sounds really good, Todd. I like that. Okay, great. Are you available Saturday or Sunday, say afternoon sometime, where we can get together for about 30 minutes and take down your exact home buying criteria and get that system set up for you? Yeah, Saturday at 3 o'clock. Okay, fantastic. Okay. While I've got you on the phone, and so that we can do the best possible job for you, can I ask you a few questions? And the guy's going to say, yep. Okay, so now I'm asking him my qualifying questions. Now, when we say qualifying, we're talking about appointment qualifying, not financially qualifying. Qualifying a buyer financially is a job of a buyer's agent. I'm not his buyer's agent. So I'm not getting a buyer pre-qualified financially unless I'm going to get something out of it. Okay? So just understand that I look at these things much differently. I want buyers in my database that want to buy homes. I don't give a crap if they're qualified to buy today or not. And here's why. We can't change equity in a home, but we can dang sure change a buyer's credit score and how much money they need. And in fact, you don't even need any money to buy a home, with tax credits and all these other things. So so that's why we want buyers in our system. And if I try to pre-qualify the buyer first, a couple of things may happen. Number one, nothing. No appointment ever takes place. He never enters my database. We have no relationship. And you know what? If I do get him qualified prior to ever getting a buyer agreement signed, then I've helped him. He's qualified. He can go buy his own house. He doesn't need me. So financially being qualified is not a prerequisite for getting together in my office or at his home face-to-face to talk about buying a house. But it is if he wants to go look at and buy a home, right? And we just dealt with that on the call a little bit ago. Okay, so pretty good stuff. So this is your buyer qualifying form. It starts your file. So that I can do the best possible job for you, can I ask you a few questions? Great. If I don't know whether he's renting or owning or not, then I need to find out. Okay, but I typically have already asked that question if I'm following the script, and now it just becomes a case of offering him a CMA, market evaluation on his present home if he owns, while we're getting together. Okay? In that case, your appointment may change from your office to their house. And now you've got a buyer appointment and a seller appointment, right? What area do you really want to be in? Is the style real critical for you? How many bedrooms do you really need? Have you guys determined what price range? And what else is important for you in your next home? Have you spoken to any mortgage companies yet? No. Well, would you be interested in a free rate quote, payment quote on your next home from a lender? No obligation to make loan application with them or anything like that. And the guy will probably say, yeah. And of course, I'll send that email over to our mortgage guy so he can call him. But it's not the buyer's job to call the mortgage guy. If you can wave a magic wand when you want to be in your next home. Okay, well, are you buying your next home yourself or, with someone else? Yeah, my wife and I. Okay, well, will she be available when we get together Saturday at 3 as well? And if not, we want to try to reschedule so we can get both of them there. Make sure you've got all their contact information, especially email address. And then remind them before hanging up the phone of why we're getting together. Okay? And that's to reiterate the unique selling proposition. Now, appointment cancellations, do you guys have many of those?
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, let's discuss avoiding or preventing appointment cancellations and some things we can do. And it's just a matter of putting a system in place really to do that. Number one is just what we talked about. Before hanging up the phone with the prospect, we want to reiterate the unique selling proposition of what they said yes to in the beginning, which is, okay, great, I'm looking forward to seeing you at 3 o'clock there on Saturday, Mr. Buyer. Now, again, when we get together, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go over your home buying criteria. I'm going to put it down on a special form that we have. There's over 100 individual features that you can search by. So you're going to be in complete control of this process. And set that up, and you're going to get, every day, all of the properties from all the other real estate companies out there, from banks and for sale by owners. You're going to get those properties sent over to you automatically. They're going to show up on your computer. Okay, so you're going to have access to the homes just like I do. It'll almost be like almost like being a real estate agent. Okay, great. I'll see you Saturday at 3 o'clock. So that's huge. That's the last thing you want them to remember in their head when they hang up the phone. All right. Second thing is that you really want to try to avoid scheduling buyer appointments more than 48 hours out. If you have to schedule 3-4 days or a week out, you're going to run into issues with them showing up. So you've got to go back and resell them on coming in. All right. A third biggie is don't force them to come to your office. Go see them at their house. Okay. So if you're running into a lot of cancellations that way, then change your venue. And that might have an impact. Number 4 is between booking the appointment and the actual appointment taking place, you need to send them an email that thanks them for their time and reiterates why you're getting together, which is the USP offer, and how they can reach you if there's an issue. That's it. Okay? And if the appointment's really far away, then you're going to have to call them again. So you should have an appointment plan put together that automatically tells you to do these things. All right, now, Plan B buyers. This is important because I think buyer acquisition, putting buyers in your database, you always got a lot of people you can choose from, since buying a home is a process, not necessarily an event, is really important. So we want to have a Plan B in place. Okay, so Plan B is for buyers who fall into these categories, like they cancel and they can't reconnect with you. You just can't get back in touch with them. But buyers who push back when you're trying to close for an appointment, they said yes to your offer, but now you're closing for an appointment and it's just not working out to get that appointment nailed down. Buyers who are out of town, you can't even meet with them right now. Or buyers who have some sort of other baggage, financing issues, house to sell, or whatever. Those are really the Plan B category of buyers. So what you want to do for those guys is this. Hey, while I've got you on the phone, buyer, why don't you tell me what it is you are looking for in a home, and I'll be more than happy to send you some snapshots of some available properties that match your criteria, give you an idea of what's out there right now. And then you're going to follow up with them around the homes that they're getting. Okay, so this is a little bit of a twist on what a lot of Platinum members were accustomed to doing, but this is the one thing that allowed people to add 33%, 66% more business just by putting a Plan B together. Okay, in other words, if you can't get them to commit to coming in, you've done all you can. So you've got to go to Plan B. So it could be like, while I've got you on the phone, Dan, tell me what it is you are looking for in a home then. Take down their home buying criteria, send them snapshots. So you're giving them the home hunter service, so to speak, anyway. And again, I'm just telling you, the home hunter service is just not that big a deal. Buyers can get homes on their own. So you're not going to be able to convert buyers to sign agreements using the home hunter service. Okay, it's just not valuable enough. All right, and we'll get into that here in just a minute on the benefits of what will convert them. But priority access to proprietary information, things that they don't believe they have access to right now, to me is the only way that you can probably get them to say yes to getting face-to-face. It's got to be something that they can't get access to right now. But if you're offering them something that they have readily available to them, that they feel like they can get on their own or from other sources, not going to get an appointment. That's why I put so much emphasis on that whole priority access to proprietary information thing. Okay, so we've got the buyer, the Plan B guy. He pushed, I made the offer. Would you like X? He says, yeah, I want that. I closed for the appointment. He says, well, I don't know about getting together right now. We just started looking. I don't think we're really that motivated to do that. Let me just call you back when we're a little closer to doing something. Okay? This is where most agents fall apart. So I can say, well, you know what? Hey, while I've got you on the phone before we hang up, why don't you just tell me what it is you are looking for in a home then, Mr. Smith? And I'll be more than happy to send you some snapshots of some available properties just to give you an idea of what's out there since you just started looking. Is that okay? And he's like, yeah, sure. So he gives me his general criteria over the phone. I put him in my little system, and I send him some pictures and descriptions of homes. And then, of course, I've scheduled myself an activity to follow back up with Mr. Smith. So I call him back up. Hey, Mr. Smith, this is Todd Walters, and the reason I'm calling is to check in with you guys, see if you bought a home yet. And that's really all I'm interested in, right? Has he bought or has he not bought? And if he says, no, we haven't bought, well, great. Hey, would you be interested in getting pictures and descriptions of all the homes that match exactly what you're looking for, including these off-market properties like bank-owned homes and for sale by owners and other distress sales? They can be emailed over to you as often as they hit the marketplace, because we've got this cool little system here that searches out those homes daily and sends them to buyers that are interested. Do you think that would be helpful? So I just redo the offer, redo the script, just go back through it. And the reason is because he doesn't remember our previous conversation. He remembers a conversation, but he doesn't remember the details, so you're basically starting all over every time you follow back up. But the entry into that script is just that. Follow back up, see if you guys have bought a home yet. Okay? So you guys got that? So now you've got your Plan A guys that you're going to meet with, and you've got your Plan B guys that you're following back up with. The only difference is that now when you're calling the Plan B guys up, they're getting something from you, which is houses. That's what they want, okay? Our houses. That's what they're looking for. So you get the leverage off of those, and they begin to associate you as the guy with the houses. Instead of just somebody who's calling them up and they got nothing from you, except maybe sales letters and sales emails. Buyers want houses. They need to associate you as the guy with the homes. All right. Now, the buyer appointment. In order to get, when we get to the buyer's house or when they come to our office, in order to really get something from them, reciprocity, we want to give them something of value first. Okay? So since buyers want houses and not necessarily a real estate agent, we got to give them that. So discuss with the buyer right out of the chute their home buying criteria first. And I think you want to take it down using an MLS data entry form. In other words, the same form that you would use to list a house, that's the same form you want to use when you're taking down their home buying criteria. Lots of little boxes you can check off. Okay? And then once you get that out of the way and you're using some pictures and descriptions of properties that you printed out that match our general criteria that you took down over the phone as leverage of saying this is kind of what you're going to get, this is what they look like, here's a few homes that match your general criteria. But since we're going through specifics now you're in control, you're picking the home that you want, that's exactly what you're going to get. Okay, and the buyer's like, great, this is awesome. All right? Now you want to focus directly on their needs as the basis of your discussion going forward. Hey, look, so that we can do the best possible job for you when we get together, as we move forward in providing you with the information, buyer. Tell me what's most important to you in the whole home buying process. And you want to get 3 things from the buyer here. What do you feel like has to happen in order to feel that you've achieved what's important to you? So find out what those things are and what they're giving you. That is their hot buttons. Okay? That's their hot buttons, and that's what you're going to use to close them when you get into your buyer benefits presentation. So if you want to shorten your presentations up to make this really easy, that's it. Start there. What's important to you in the home buying process? Well, we really got to feel like we're getting a good deal. The last home we bought from a real estate agent, it was a train wreck. We overpaid. He said we were getting a good deal. We took him at his word. You know what? We got to know we're getting a good value when we go to buy next home. That's why we're a little skeptical of real estate agents. All right, well, what has to happen then for you to feel like you've really achieved getting a good deal? All right, and they will tell you exactly what's on their mind and what they want, and that's where your focus is. All right? So as you take down 3 things there, you think them, say, okay, well, listen, I really appreciate you providing me with that information. That will help us do a really good job in providing you with what it is that you want and getting you the right information to help you in your present situation. All right, and then you're free to move forward with your buyer benefits presentation. But there's a few things that you want to have as your, psychologically have going on for you to do a good job on this. So the first one is you want to have a houses in waiting paradigm. In other words, you're the guy with the houses. You're the guy with the access to all the homes. Okay? The buyer needs to look at you as a doorway to a good deal, to something they can't get on their own. Okay? If they don't see you as that, you know what? I'm just telling you, it's just going to be very difficult for you to get anything signed. Okay? So it's not about access to homes. It's about access to properties that they can't get on their own. That's very, very important. Okay? Fast and easy priority access to that stuff as well. And, of course, reversing the risk of doing business or getting into a relationship with somebody they don't know. Risk reversal, like a buyback guarantee, home warranties, the ability to fire you, okay, and possibly even guaranteeing them a cash savings. So we're not going to go through the buyer benefits presentation, right, because you guys already have that and know what it looks like, okay? But I would think that you obviously want to have your laptop up ready to go so when you get into it, you can describe it to them this way. Okay, well, look, thanks for sharing that information with me on what's important to you in the home buying process. That will help us do a good job for you, providing you with the right information to help you in your present situation there, Mr. Buyer. Hey, look, there are 2 types of primary relationships that exist between real estate agents and buyers. Okay, and I wasn't sure if you were aware of those or not. But the first one is seller agency, all right? And the next one's buyer agency. Seller agency is where the real estate agent represents the home seller, the guy selling the house, and they owe them fiduciary duties. In other words, their job's to make sure that they're getting everything that they want at the expense of the buyer. Okay? They just have to be fair to the buyer. And then there's buyer agency. That's where the real estate agent represents the buyer and owes them fiduciary duties. Okay? To get the buyer the best home at the best price with the least amount of hassle and just be fair to the seller. So there are huge benefits in having a buyer's agent work with you and represent you. Okay? Like you probably already know that all real estate agents can provide these services: arrange property showings, assist with financing, provide property data, explain forms and agreements, and monitor closing details, right? But you may not know that only an agent actually working for and representing the buyer can do all of these activities. See, agents representing seller can't do that because their job is to protect the seller, get them the best deal, right? So buyer's agents protect the buyer's interest at all times, disclose matters and defects in the property that, that the buyer would obviously want to know. Prepare property value studies so that the buyer knows if they're getting a good deal or not. And represent the buyer only. Structure offers to promote and protect only the buyer. Keep the buyer's financial capabilities, thoughts, willingness to pay more even for a property strictly confidential. And represent the buyer on all properties, whether they're listed with real estate companies or not. Negotiate home inspections, repairs, occupancy dates, buyer credits, closing costs, everything in the buyer's favor so they're getting the best home at the best price with the least amount of hassle. Okay, so, Mr. Buyer, are you more comfortable with buyer agency or are you more comfortable with seller agency? So, see, that's your trial close right there, right? Now, if you've done a good job at this point of giving them access to homes, demonstrating value, that you're giving them access to properties that they can't get on their own or from anywhere else, okay, and focused on their needs as the basis of your discussion there, it's a 5-minute buyer benefits presentation. And when you ask that question, are you more comfortable with seller agency or are you more comfortable with buyer agency, they're going to say, well, we're definitely more comfortable with the buyer agency thing. So if they are more comfortable with that, then that's your green light to fast forward to the paperwork. Okay? But if they give you some resistance, well, I don't know, we bought the last home, with ourselves. We didn't use a real estate agent. We're a little uncomfortable with real estate agents. So I think we're just gonna do it that way now, Todd. Thank you. Well, you know what? I got to continue on through the buyer benefits presentation, right? I got to say, well, let me just share with you then some of the things that we do that could probably help you save even more money than you might even thought possible. And then you continue on through your buyer benefits presentation. But for the sake of our call today, webinar, why don't we just assume that they're, yeah, Todd, I really love the buyer agency thing. That sounds really good to me. Okay, then we're going to fast forward through to our paperwork, right? So let's take a look at the VIP buyer agreement then. So I go straight to the paperwork, and then I just go through all the benefits for them, one at a time. Discuss the benefits intimately, especially since we haven't done it in our benefits presentation. And I focus in on how they're going to benefit, and I tie our services to what they said in the beginning was most important to them. Hey, we really want to know we're getting a good deal. Okay, so I'm going to tie all of these things into that. We're going to assist you in securing the best financing. I'm going to provide you with regular updates of properties that match exactly what you're looking for. You can drive by them on your own. There's never any pressure to buy. We'll arrange private showings of any property that you want to see. Doesn't matter who the owner is. When you find a property, we're going to discuss the best strategy regarding, the offering price, the financing terms, etc. We're going to help you prepare the offer with terms weighted in your interest. Okay? Present the offer on your behalf. This is important. Present the offer on your behalf and negotiate in your favor to make sure you get the best possible deal. Recommend competent affiliates to help you with the total home purchase process, which includes legal expertise, home inspections, appraisals, all these other things. We're going to be available to answer any questions you might have along the way, and there's some other big bonuses that we have to offer as well, like a home warranty that will protect you if something should break after you move into the home, like the air conditioner or hot water heater. The home warranty company will cover the expense of those things being replaced. You're going to get one of those. You don't have to pay for it. You'll receive our written guarantee that if you're not happy with the home that you like, we'll buy it back from you. This means that you're in complete control here of the process. You don't have to worry about us trying to ram a home down your throat because we're ultimately responsible for that. And if at any time you don't like the job that we're doing for you, you just pick up the phone, tell us that we're fired, and we'll collect our things, and and you go. We don't want to get in the way of you buying a home and having a pleasant experience through the whole process. So do you have any questions about the benefits of our VIP buyer system? And are you okay and comfortable with us helping you purchase your next house? Okay, so there you are. And I could say, okay, great. Do you know how real estate agents get paid? Yeah, there's commissions and all these kinds of things. Yep, that's right. All these home sellers out there, regardless of who it is, they're waving this giant flag around. And the flag says, hey, agents, get a buyer over here to my home and sell it, and I'll pay you. So in other words, buyers, agents are getting paid out of the proceeds of sale. That's how they get paid. So our fee of 3.5% of the purchase price is going to be paid to us by the seller of the home that you're buying. Okay? You just agree to pay us an access fee, a processing fee of $495, so we can get this whole process started. That's it. And when you buy your next home, we'll make sure that that gets credited back to you. Are you okay with that? And that's it. So the form that you guys are looking at right now makes it easy to collect a retainer. Okay? Bottom line is you just have to ask for it. Now, if you guys aren't comfortable with that, then don't do it. But I'm just and eventually if you do it, and eventually when you get good at it, then you'll take away going to be credited back to you part.
Okay.
Or you could say our fee of 3.5% plus a transaction fee of $495 is going to be paid by the seller of the property that you're buying. You just agree to pay us an access fee of $495 to get going. This way, when you credit it back to them, you're still getting it from the seller. So there's several ways you can approach that. You guys just have to decide what that's going to be. But not asking for the premium. Let me be real clear on this. Not asking for the premium, which is an increase in commission because you're adding extra value to them and the services that you provide, okay, in payment now is a sin. It just is. It's hard to run your business if you're not getting paid. All right, and buyers will pay you and allow you to collect the fee if they're benefiting. So, do you guys see any issues or have any questions about that?
Mike? I know. I would just question the fact that, like, on our form that we use for California Association of Realtors has a spot where for the buyer broker agency, you put in the commission. And it states in there that the buyer is responsible for paying that fee, but that any amount received from the seller is credited towards that. So it gets kind of convoluted in buyers.
Yeah, that's why we don't use that form.
Okay.
All right, now I don't know if your broker says you have to use that form, but you can have a contract on a paper napkin.
Yeah.
It's so you can use whatever form you want to. This form that you're looking at right now, which is available to you on the coaching site, in my opinion, is a better form to use than that Board of Realtor form that I wouldn't sign. Like you guys wouldn't sign that if you were buying a house, would you?
It'd be a
yeah, so why sign that form? So pull out a form that says, look, this is everything you get, and it does the same thing. So let's suppose that this happens, right? You sign the buyer to a VIP buyer agreement. 6 weeks later, you get a call from them saying, hey, look, we bought a home this weekend. Thank you. See ya. What are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to do anything, right? I mean, they bought a home without you. I don't know why they did. I would do an exit interview to find out, but my guess is most of the time it's because they weren't valued. They didn't see any value in making sure we were included. And I'll be honest with you, it's not their job to include us. Just because you get an agreement signed by a buyer doesn't guarantee you anything. What you want to do is promise your services to the buyer. And you can see right here at the bottom, these are the services that we're providing. But if we don't get paid X number of dollars, what's spelled out right here, you don't get these services. Performance of these services are conditioned upon us being paid X. All right, so that's clear.
And
most
buyers seem to know that if you get the response, isn't 3% normal? I heard you guys paid 3%.
Well, commissions are totally negotiable. Some of them are maybe 2.5, and some of them may be 5. We just don't know. That's why we're saying our fee of at least 3.5% is going to be built in and paid by the seller of the home that you're buying. Is that okay with you?
Okay. And then the other question is, you get into the negotiations with the listing agent, and my recent experience is that they don't know how to handle this, because they were offering 2.5. I wrote in 3% in the contract, and they accepted the offer less the commission, changing the commission. So how do you communicate that effectively to the other agents and still negotiate on your client's behalf?
Yeah, when you submit your offer, okay, let's take a look at that. And let's see if we can fast forward here and deal with just that. Hang on one second here. I'm going to pull it up. All right. Negotiating. Found it. Okay, so let me throw that up on the screen here for you. Okay. Preventing miscommunications and getting our fee. That's what you're talking about, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So the buyer finds a home they fall in love with. Oh, I love this house. I got to have it. Okay, great. So seller's asking $200,000. What do you think about the price? I don't know. What do you think? Well, it's the best home for the money out of all the ones we've seen. So I guess that means it's already a good deal. Chances are, if you like it, somebody else is going to like it too. Why don't we run back to my office here? Let's sit down, pull up some tax information on the property. Let's just make sure this thing doesn't get away. But before we do that, let me pick up the phone here and call the listing agent. All right, so I got my cell phone. I'm in the listing agent's. I'm in the house, the listing, with the buyer right in front of me, and I call the listing agent. So I get the listing agent on the phone, and the listing agent's name is Dan. Hey, Dan, this is Todd Walters here with the Realty team. I'm standing in your property that you have on the market right now at 1065 Gunter Court with Mr. and Miss Smith, buyer, and we just had a few questions for you. Is the property still available? Okay, great. Do you have any offers on it right now? Okay, fantastic. What is the seller's timeline for getting out of this thing? All right. Hey, do you have a copy of the tax in tax records and survey and seller's property disclosure statement that you could fax me? Okay, great. Hey, look, if I get an offer to you on this home over the next, say, couple hours, how soon do you think you can get it in front of the seller? Okay, good. Look, is there anything else that I should know about or should include in any offer? How's the seller's flexibility with the price? And I threw those up on the screen so you could see them right now, but that's where this whole process starts, is in communication. I have a buyer. I'm in your house. Now I've got the buyer looking at me while we're on the phone with the listing agent. If anything goes sideways in the future, they're not going to blame me because I'm including them in the process. And I'm starting this process right now with the listing agent, right? Okay, so I get that done. We head back and we write up an offer. Now I'm going to show you real fast here within about 10 minutes how you can get for your buyer and yourself everything you want and need going forward. Okay? So the first thing is that let's suppose the real estate commission is 3%. Your buyer agreement is 3.5%. So you have a 0.5% deficiency. Okay? It's a $200,000 home. That's $1,000. Okay, so buyer, seller's asking $200,000. What do you want to offer? I want to offer $190,000. Okay, $190,000. Remember when we first got together, I told you our fee of 3.5% would be built in. Seller's going to pay it. You still okay with that, right? I mean, that's what we agreed to. We're going to move forward and do that. Yeah, I don't care as long as I don't have to pay it. Okay, great. So see this blank right here in the contract says closing cost. That's where all that information goes. So while we're doing that, it's and a 0.5 point is $1,000 because they're giving away 3 right now. So we're going to put $1,000 in there for them to pay towards closing costs, and that's going to cover that 3.5%. So you're not paying it; they are. Did you want to, ask for anything else, any other closing costs? Or, yeah, I want to get, $4,000 towards my other cost. Okay, great. So your offer is $190 and the seller paying $5,000 in closing costs. So that's the offer. All right? Now, to make sure that there's no miscommunications here and I don't have anybody else down the road screwing this up for me, I just put in the special stipulations this paragraph that you see right here on your screen. Closing cost, as referenced on page whatever of the purchase and sale agreement, include all of these things. And you can see right there buried in it, buyer agency fees. Okay, so that's important. We can collect fee deficiencies or whatever it is we want to be paid on the buyer's behalf through the closing cost, okay, being paid by the seller, but only if we outline what those things are. And we got to make sure we do those two things. Failure to include that is where things will go sideways. Now, negotiating, okay? I present the offer to the listing agent. Here's our listing. Here's our offer to our listing agent. 190. Buyer wants $5,000 in closing cost. Listing agent says, "Thank you. I'll get back to you." Agent calls me back and says, "Okay, they're not going to sell the home for 190 and pay $5,000 in closing cost, Todd, but they will sell it for 195 and pay no closing costs." Again, this was a $200,000 home. So I'm like, "Okay, thank you. I really appreciate all the effort in getting a $5,000 concession. That's awesome. I really appreciate that." Now, let me stop right there. What most real estate agents would do at that point is hang up the phone. Okay? But if you'll think back what we just talked about on our VIP buyer agreement, the buyer said, "Todd, negotiate on my behalf to get me the best deal." All right? He's authorized me to negotiate for him. So I'm not going to hang up the phone with the listing agent and delegate that negotiating activity to my buyer. I'm going to be the negotiator. All right, I'm not going to be a messenger, and this is where most real estate agents lose control of the whole process, is because they decide they're not going to be a negotiator anymore. They're just going to be a messenger. They hang up the phone, they call the buyer, "Hey, their counter offer is 195. What do you want to do?" And the buyer's like, "Okay, take it." And you're like, "But what about our fee and all these other things?" Right? So it's a problem. Don't do that. So while you're still on the phone with the buyer, with the listing agent, it's like, "Okay, look, thanks for the counter offer of 195, hypothetically here. Really appreciate that. A $5,000 concession. That's awesome. I'm very confident we're going to get this thing worked out, but I need to apologize, Mr. Listing Agent, Miss Listing Agent. I'm really sorry that I didn't do a good job of letting you know how important those closing costs were to my buyer." It's huge. So I guess what you're saying then, if they'll do 195 and pay and pay no closing costs, that they would probably do 200 and pay $5,000 in closing costs. Is that right? "Todd, you get us 200, we'll pay the 5,000. Okay, great. So now I've got the counter offer that I need. My buyer does not want to come out of pocket with these extra fees and costs, and he wants the services that we provided, and is conditioned upon us getting paid. So that's the deal." So I go back to my buyer and say, "Look, got a counter offer. They said no to 190, but they'll do 200, pay $5,000 in closing costs." All right, which covers all the things you want to need. Less money out of your pocket at closing, so it's a pretty good value for you. You're already saving money right out of the chute. So congratulations on that. Are you ready to move forward? Now let's try it one more time. Let's see if they'll do all that at 195. Okay, so I call the listing agent back up, send them a new offer or whatever. "Hey, look, I appreciate your effort there, listing agent, but the $200, $5,000 in concessions there towards these closing costs and things, that's pretty good, but the buyer's just not interested in that. I'm sorry. But he will do 195, provided the seller covers those $5,000 in closing costs there." Listing agent's like, "Okay, I'll get back to you." Listing agent calls back and says, "All right, Todd, seller will do 195, no problem, but they're only going to pay $2,500 in closing costs." All right, so what do we do? Well, we do the same thing again. "Well, Miss Listing Agent, that's awesome. That's like a $7,500 concession. Obviously the seller's interested in selling their home, and you're working hard, and I really appreciate it. Okay, but I need to apologize again. And whatever, I'm just not doing a good job of letting you know how important these closing costs are. It's a make it or break it deal. So I guess what you're saying is that if they're at 195, they'll do 2,500 at 197.5. Obviously, they'll do a $5,000, right? And the listing agent says, yeah, you get us 197.5, we'll do $5,000 in closing costs, the same thing, whatever. Okay, great. So I call my buyer back, and so that's how you get whatever it is you want for your buyer, and for you, and for the seller, because it's got to be a win-win transaction. There's not going to be one. Okay, and you're good to go. Now, a couple of issues here with that is that in our contracts in Georgia, see the commission is not outlined in the purchase and sell agreement. You with me?
Yeah, it's not in ours anymore either. It's
okay. Here's
as for the
look,
MLS.
Yeah, look on your screen. So in our purchase and sell agreement, it just gives a paragraph that says, hey, there may be some commissions associated with that. There's an outside agreement, blah blah blah. The brokers have worked it out among themselves. They're getting paid whatever. So when the contract is done, and remember now we got that paragraph in there for the closing cost. You know what it can go for. So we send over to the closing attorney or the title company, whoever's handling the closing, what to do with the money. The MLS is, if the MLS had 3% in it, then that's what goes in the little blank here. We get 3%, and down in the special stipulations here is where we say, hey, the buyer requests that $1,000 in this circumstance here that we were talking about hypothetically, $1,000 of the closing cost being paid by the seller be paid to us at closing as per our buyer agreement that's attached here to. And the closing attorney, title company, is like, okay. And if the other agent calls back up and says, what's this? They can say, well, the buyer owes us $1,000. He just elected to roll that into his closing cost that the seller's paying. And the reason he owes us the money is because he elected to take on, he wanted some additional services. But one of them is an insurance policy that says if he's not happy with the home, we're going to buy it back. So that obviously keeps you from getting sued if they're not happy with the house after they buy it. Are you okay with that, listing agent? And always they say, yeah, man, that's pretty cool. So that's it.
Okay.
So the listing agent just doesn't want to be showed up. They don't want to know that, hey, you're taking money. You're getting money. It's not fair. Well, it's not fair because they don't know what we're doing on our end. So don't argue with them. Just tell them. So look, the buyer's wanted some extra services, and that's why there's more money for us. And the extra services are this. Number one's an insurance policy, the buyback guarantee. And here's why that benefits you. Okay, and you know what? It's just a non-issue now.
Okay.
Now, one other circumstance that might happen is that we're at the closing table and the and listing agents make a big deal out of you guys getting more money or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So you could do this before if you're at the closing table, and in our state, you know, we're across the table from the home seller. So before anything said, we sit down. Before anybody says, the closing attorney or title guy starts to talk, I say, oh, excuse me, 1 second before we get going, and I turn around and look at my buyer, and I pull out of my folder, and I give them the brochure certificate for the buyback guarantee. Oh, buyer, before we get going here is your certificate for your satisfaction guarantee that if you're not happy with this home now, within the next 24 months, and I kind of look up and glance around the table at the seller and the agent and the closing attorney, and look back down and think, if you're not happy with this home in the next 24 months, we will buy it back from you. Okay, this is this program that says that right here. Here you go. Thank you. Okay, go ahead there, Mr. Closing attorney. And now the agent ain't saying nothing. Just done. And if they do, I can say, well, yeah, that's that extra money there. That the buyer wanted these extra services, so they've elected to allow that to be paid out of the closing costs. And it's just done. It's over. So it's a non-issue. So that's how you can deal with that whole process. But again, you have to get the buyer's permission to allow you to ask for more money. It's just not going to happen without a signed VIP buyer agreement. And your contracts have to be handled and negotiated with the proper paperwork and statements in them.
Perfect. All right.